Color comes in two different forms. There's the type of color and the amount of color. So in the background, you would use cooler colors versus warmer colors, and in the background you'd use fewer colors versus more colors. So it doesn't apply when we're using black and white, but it's something I want you to know because this checklist can be applied to any type of art. Think of railroad tracks that you've seen and how they go off into the distance. The ties that the railroad track is on are what I want us to focus on right now. If you have a train track and the ties that run underneath it, the tie in the front is going to have thickness to it. And further off, the next tie to this is going to be a little smaller and a little shallower in height, and the gap between it and the next one are going to get even increasingly shorter. So this gap here and this gap here will diminish. And as these ties go into the background, some of the rules that we talked about depth will apply. If there was detail here, the gravel in between it, or blades of grass, the gravel here is going to be less and less. The space and the thickness of the ties themselves are going to be lessened. And further away, you're going to end up getting to basically nothing, where all the lines almost converge. Okay? So you won't see a lot of information here as opposed to here. But where that applies so often when I'm teaching is when somebody wants to do water. In the distance, the waves have to be very small, like those train ties. But in the foreground, the waves have to be quite large. So the closer you are, the more length on the waves and height you have on the waves, just the same as you do on the ties. So keeping that in mind when you're drawing, your lines, if they're getting small further away, will convey a little bit more in the depth. If you think of this as grass and you think, boy, the height of that tie versus the height of this, the grass here can be really tall, and as it gets further away, it starts getting proportionally smaller. So think about that and how less detail you want here, less height, and more of that you want in the foreground.